Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we are actually talking about Google AMP because a lot of people think this is actually a harmful idea. They have for a couple of years now, but here's what's going on because we've had some major changes in the last week or so. Now here's what's up. This is actually coming, as I said, from recent changes made by Brave, the web browser, and also DuckDuckGo, the search engine. But first we need some background on this. This is coming from the Register, and I'm going to try to be as non-technical as I can here, and here's what's up. Now, first let's talk about AMP, because AMP, as Google describes it, is a way to create web pages using a subset of basically coding languages like HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, along with unique markup and what is known as a CDN, or content delivery network, that Google owns to basically cache the website with this basically special subset of language baked into the website. Now, basically, what I'm talking about here is AMP's goal, again, according to Google, is a better user experience because AMP pages load faster than regular web pages built with standard web technology. But here's the thing. Many of Google's competitors and critics basically don't see it that way. In the years following the announcement of AMP in 2015, the technology was derided for sending web traffic to a cache on Google's servers instead of to the website implementing AMP pages, and that basically is disempowering publishers. In fact, a December 2020 antitrust lawsuit brought by Texas and other US states alleging anti-competitive behavior from Google in the digital ad sector describes AMP as an effort to defeat, and I quote, header bidding. That's a way for multiple ad exchanges to participate fairly in automated ad auctions that allegedly threaten Google's ad revenue. And I quote the third amended complaint from that antitrust. Specifically, Google made AMP unable to execute JavaScript in the header, which frustrated publishers' use of header bidding. Now, Google has denied these claims and maintains that AMP is here to make the web better. And I quote Google in a blog post. Engineers at Google designed AMP in partnership with publishers and other tech companies to help web pages load faster and improve the user experience on mobile devices, not to harm header bidding. Nonetheless, rivals like Brave, the web browser, and DuckDuckGo, another search engine that competes with Google, having basically been through all this dissatisfaction with Google's privacy practices to basically 50 million or so monthly active users and daily query rates of close to 100 million on these kinds of pages, they are showing little enthusiasm for AMP. Now, this is what's going on. This past Tuesday, like 4 days ago or so, Brave on basically Tuesday, as I mentioned, introduced a feature called DAMP that lets those using the Brave browser avoid Google-hosted AMP pages and go straight to the publisher's content on a standard web page. DAMP will rewrite those fetched web pages that link to AMPed pages, so those links point to the publisher's version of those pages and not the cached version from Google. Brave's browser actually uses a modified version of Google's Chromium. That's the platform, so it looks and feels very similar to Chrome, but it will watch when AMP pages are being loaded and stop them before they can render, sending you to the original page, therefore helping the publisher. Doing so prevents AMP's scripts and images from being fetched and executed, while also reducing Google's ability to see web traffic and understand where you're going. So if you're using Brave and you hit AMP, instead of Google knowing that you went to that page because it's linked to AMP, which is cached in the Google ecosystem, Brave will stop that and point you directly to that. Brave also has a lot of other privacy features built in, stripping trackers and cookies automatically. They call it Shields Up. I personally use Brave. I like it a lot better than Chrome, but it feels like Chrome. It acts like Chrome, but it's more private and secure than Chrome. So take that for what it's worth. Now, on top of that, DuckDuckGo, the search engine, basically a competitor to Google, but then again, Google has no real competitors, only in the sense that while DuckDuckGo is used by millions, Google is used by billions. They also said this past Tuesday, probably in conjunction with Brave, that basically their app and extensions now protect against Google AMP. Those loading or sharing a Google AMP page via DuckDuckGo's iOS, Android, or Mac apps or if it's using its Chrome or Firefox extensions, meaning you've integrated DuckDuckGo into Chrome or Firefox, will now see the publisher's regular web page instead of AMP. So there you go. Basically, what they are looking at is essentially knocking back a bit the absolute behemoth of data mining, because that's what they are. They're the behemoth of data mining. And so I think this is a very interesting move. Anything that makes us a little more private, a little more secure is pretty good. Now, I've been to AMP pages, obviously. I think we all have. When we hit Google search results, those are the ones that Google usually yields first. And so those pages do tend to load pretty quickly. But if it's basically knocking down the publisher or not helping support the publisher, through things like ad bidding and all those kinds of things, then obviously that's a bit of an issue. And it's giving Google more leverage in the internet when they already have a massive, massive, massive amount of leverage. And not to mention basically putting us into filter bubbles to really hone us to what we see. A lot of people basically blame them in part on top of Facebook and everything else for things like political division. Meaning if you are very much, let's say, right-leaning or left-leaning, you're getting put in that ecosystem and you're not seeing competing sides of things. You're getting one side of the story if you're using Google basically to look up news. So I think this is very interesting. We'll see where this goes. But if you're using Google AMP, heads up, now you know what the critics think. Now you know what Google thinks. You can make an informed decision and basically maintain your privacy yourself if you choose to. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please stay private. Thanks, everyone.